So now we have a web application which runs just fine on our local machine. But what if we want to share that application with other users, maybe our friends and family? We'll need to put that online and have it hosted somewhere. So today I want to go over how to host your application with Heroku. Before we do that, we do need to do a little bit of setup, just adding some additional changes to our package.json so it knows that we have a Node application and what version of Node we want to use. So to the package.json, I need to add a few things. I need to add a build pack to tell Heroku what kind of application I have. In here, I'm telling it that I have a Node.js application. I also need to tell it what version of Node to use. Here I'm telling it to use version 12.16.3. Now that we've made these changes to our package.json file, we just need to make sure that we save the file. You can do that with Control S. Next, you'll want to pay a visit to Heroku.com and create an account. You can do that here. Once you've registered your account and logged in, now you can create a new application. We do that here. Go to New, Create New App, and then we need to give our application a name. I'm going to call this PR Smith Example. We can see that name is available and create it in the United States. I'm going to click Create App. Now that we've created our app, we need to deploy it. You'll see I'm already in the Deploy tab and that there's a few different ways to deploy your application. You can use the Heroku CLI, which is what the tutorials will show you. You can also connect it to a GitHub repository, which is how I'm going to set it up here. Or you can use the container registry, which also uses the Heroku CLI. Today, I'm going to use the GitHub deployment method. Before you can use this method, you will need to connect your GitHub account to Heroku. I've already done that here. Another thing that you'll need to know, in order to deploy applications to GitHub, it'll actually need to be a separate repo. If you have your coursework repo set up in such a way that all of your projects are in that same repo, Heroku won't know how to deploy those. And that follows regardless of if you're using the CLI or you're using a direct deploy from GitHub. What that means is that you'll need to take your project and move it into a separate repository in order to be able to deploy that. I've already set up a separate repo for this project, so I just need to search for it here. I've called it example project, so that's what I'm going to type in here. Search. You can see the repo here. So I'm going to hit connect. You can see here I have the option of automatic deploys. What this does is anytime I make changes to my code, it will automatically redeploy the application, which is great. So I'm going to turn that on. Now, anytime I push something to master, it will automatically push it. Now, it won't do it this first time because I haven't made a change yet, so I need to go ahead and initiate a deploy. From now on, I won't need to do this manually anymore. It will do it for any further changes I have, but I want to do one initial deploy here. We can see it working on the deploy and going through the process. When this completes, you'll see something like this, says deploy to Heroku, and let's click on view. Cool. We can see our application is out there. In fact, you can see that I already have a working URL for it, prsmith-example at .herokuapp.com. This app is already publicly viewable on the internet. So I can visit my contact form. I can see that working here. I can see that my handlebar stuff that we implemented in the last video is working as well. However, before I'm done, I still need to do some configuration. So let's go back to Heroku. I'm going to go up and I'm going to go into the settings tab. There's a section here called config vars. I'm going to click reveal config vars to see the section. And this will now let me set up environment variables for my deployed application. So remember, one of those variables I need to set is debug, and we're going to set debug to app : star, so we'll be able to see any debug output in the log. I don't want to actually set a port because Heroku will automatically assign a port to my application, and I want to make sure it uses that port. When we add databases and other things, we'll need to come back here and add additional configuration. Now, I mentioned that I want to turn on my debugging for the app, but where would I actually see that? In order to see the logs for your application, what you're going to do is go up here on the top and go to More. There's an option here called View Logs. Okay, we pull that up, and now we have a live log of everything happening with our application. In fact, I can go to the contact form and enter my name and test message, send it, and let's look at what's in the log. Okay, now we may have to dig through a little bit, but we can see here that it's logged out my name and message, right? That's from the debug package that we used previously. So I can go into these logs to see what's actually happening once I've deployed it, the same kind of way that you could see the logs in your terminal window in VS Code. That's really all we need to talk about for setting up an Heroku app today. So I'll see you next time. You can learn more about deploying applications with Heroku in their documentation, especially in the article shown here, Deploying Node.js Apps on Heroku.